Are you in chronic pain? Do you know what that is, what that can look like, feel like? We're bringing in the expert now, chronic pain coach Gemma McFall. We are going to be speaking to sufferer Marisa after past today. So the text lines are open. You can be anonymous if you prefer, of course. But if you do fancy a chat, it's 04871 5500. Gemma, thank you so much for coming in, because I feel like we've talked about pain in various aspects, from, heartbreak to, no cartilage in your knees, and the various forms it can take. But to my embarrassment, we've never really addressed the concept of chronic pain on the show before. And unfortunately, it can be incredibly cruel and incredibly limiting for the people that do struggle and suffer. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, why this is an area that you wanted to focus on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
I'm so excited to get the chance to share. So the reason I got into this was I had back pain years ago when I moved to Dubai. And over the course of about 10 years, the pain got worse and worse and worse. I was seeing physios, osteopaths, chiropractors. I had injections in my spine on a regular basis.
Gosh. I'm also just seeing dollar signs just like floating past the screen. You know,
dollar signs and time off work. Uh-huh. I was in a corporate job and with a big team, a lot of stress. And I was having to come out of work to keep on having all these treatments. And of course, I had no choice. I was in agony, but the pain got worse and worse and worse, to the point where it was surgery is the only option, which obviously put me into a tailspin.
I'm sure.
And I would have done anything to avoid surgery, but really, it was the only thing. And then just purely by chance, somebody pointed me in the direction of neuroplastic pain and helped me to understand the science behind pain and why we have pain in the first place.
Why do we have pain in our bodies, Gemma? I know you've obviously spent a lot of time, educating yourself and others on this, but in a nutshell, are there any myths about pain that you're really keen to dispel on air with us today? Yeah,
I mean, pain is trying to tell us something, that we are in danger. We need to get out of danger. But chronic pain is when we've had pain for more than 3 months and the danger signal's still going after 3 months, causing the pain. But in most cases of chronic pain, it's because it's now become a learned neural pathway. We've felt pain once, twice, and that pathway gets stronger and stronger. So even after the physical thing has, months behind, the pain is still there.
That's interesting. So obviously we can't ignore pain. But it's interesting to think about how brain health is somehow related to our perceptions of pain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. So in the end, I managed to avoid surgery after 10 years of back pain, which really, by the end, I was lying on the floor and the kids were crawling all over me because I couldn't lift them from the floor to the high chair. Gosh. I was in that much pain.
Gosh. So when you, and we're going to talk about some of the methods that you use with your clients as well, Gemma, but in terms of what worked for you, because that does sound too good to be true, because, we do have people in agony, whose lives are limited, as you're talking about your inability to work. So tell us a little bit about how, I guess, you retrained your body and your brain in order to avoid the knife.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the pain signal is seeing a threat, and that's the fear, let's say, of the back pain, which then causes more pain. And we're in what's called a pain-fear cycle. So what's actually really happening with chronic pain is that the brain is misfiring a signal into the body. So, you asked, do I want to dispel any myths on air? It is normal to have an abnormal MRI scan.
What?
Yeah.
Please expand.
I will. And I knew you would ask me to expand. So in 2015, there was a huge study done. 3,000 people with zero pain were put through an MRI scan. And of the 20-year-olds, 37% of them had disc degeneration. And of the 80-year-olds, 96% had disc degeneration. So it's normal to have, disc degeneration as we age. But of course, when I was sitting in front of a surgeon saying I'm in absolute agony and he's looking at my MRI scan, he's saying, well, you're in agony because of what we see here on the MRI scan. And I believed that, which made me in panic. But that disc degeneration would have already been there.
So can I ask you then about why some of us feel pain more keenly than others. Let's say you and I both break our leg in exactly the same incident.
Yep.
We have exactly the same x-rays, let's say our body types and fitness levels are, or twins, for example. Why might one person find it very hard to recover from that pain and that pain be ongoing, and someone might perhaps bounce back a bit more quickly and keenly?
If you have the education of pain and what pain is all about, you wouldn't have fear of, let's say, the knee injury. You would think, oh, I've injured my knee at the gym and let's give it 3 months maximum and it should be fixed. Given if I do the right physio, the right exercises, I keep moving, it will heal itself.
So it's a mindset piece as well.
Yes, but it's more about just understanding the science of pain. So I do a lot of corporate workshops where I teach people about the science of pain, because when you understand it, then there's less to fear.
Well, it's interesting. And there was it was around the time I gave birth, actually, there was an article that came out which was talking about educating women around childbirth and this pain association, and that women that were in communities and societies where there hadn't been this idea of, childbirth is the most painful thing you're going to experience, their pain levels were lesser.
Yes, we're on the same page.
Okay, right. Joining us this afternoon to talk about chronic pain, we have got Coach Gemma McFall. We are going to be talking about some of the techniques, therapies that she uses with her clients. We are going to be speaking to some such client after 2:30 today. If you've got any questions on this, or indeed any clarification that you need on the topic of chronic pain, please reach out. You don't need to put your name on if you'd rather not. AJ says, post-COVID fibromyalgia, is it real? Louise has been in touch with some of the things that she does to treat her chronic pain and is looking for a little bit of extra help. And Rob is asking about COVID as well, chronic pain and long COVID, as we come up to 4 years, since we first heard that dreaded C word. What do we know and how does it relate to chronic pain in 2024? Text lines are open, as are the phone lines. It's 04871 5500.
More of Afternoons with Helen Farmer is coming up next
on the UAE.
Joining us in studio this hour, Gemma McFall, chronic pain coach. As you may have heard, she had her own terrible struggles with back pain before realising that things didn't necessarily need to be that way. Can I ask how your back pain is now, Gemma? You said before you were taking time off work, countless appointments, lying on the floor and able to pick up your babies. You walked in very comfortably today. How are you feeling?
I've never felt better. I'm cycling, running, I'm learning to tightrope walk, and I'm learning to unicycle.
Wow, okay.
I'm making the most of the health I never had before.
So life-changing.
Yeah, life-changing.
Can I ask then a little bit about what makes pain worse? When we think about environments, whether that is physical or indeed emotional, where pain can be heightened, what do we know about those correlations?
Yeah, what we know about pain is that in the brain, it cannot tell the difference between physical pain and emotional pain. So we could have emotional pain over Christmas, for example, and that would send a signal to our body that says, you're in danger, you must create pain, because the brain doesn't realize that it's an emotional pain.
So when you hear about people dying of heartbreak?
I can tell you, statistically, there are more heart attacks on Monday mornings than any other day of the week.
Wow. We are going to be catching up with Marisa in about 10 minutes, who had pain that was really stopping her from enjoying life, and how you worked with her. But before we get to that, if we could talk in general terms about what treatment, what therapy can look like, because you do something called PRT. What's that, Gemma?
Yeah, PRT is Pain Reprocessing Therapy. I was trained in this through the States. If anyone's interested, Alan Gordon he has a fantastic book anyone could pick up and start on the journey on this. It's psychological tools that I use to help clients to kind of deactivate the pain signal that's coming from the brain. Because we've already established, as we talked about before, that when you see an MRI scan, what you see is not what's causing the pain. Almost always, we know pain comes from the brain. Mm-hmm. So what I'm effectively doing, I'm like a physio for the brain. I'm trying to help people to not have the pain signal going to that area. Can
I ask then, can this be used for like performance enhancing? If someone's going to run the Marathon des Sables, for example, and they know they're going to be doing a marathon every day for 5 days, however crazy it is. Are there ways of, I guess, what David Goggins calls as kind of callousing the brain, so you're not getting those pain signals.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, the brain is incredible. And I think that the frustration I find is that I think people will come to me. I have a client I just finished with recently. He was having morphine injections in his shoulder the week before we started working together. And after 2 sessions, he had no pain. You know, and yes, it sounds too good to be true, but all that changed in that situation, I taught him that the pain in his shoulder is not actually because of damage in his shoulder. It's that his brain thinks there is a threat, you know, and then of course it's looking at what is that emotional threat.
You work a lot with people in the States, the UK, and actually, you know, in this part of the world, it's still kind of quite a developing area. So this is something that you do on Zoom? Is it, you know, can it be a one-off? Can it be that effective, or does it tend to be like an ongoing program that you would create with a client, Gemma?
I tend to do either 6 or 8 sessions, and by the end of that, you'll have all the tools you need to continue and help yourself. But it's funny when you say, is it a one-off? In a minute, we'll have Marisa on. Marisa came to me because I did 1 session with her business partner. He had back pain for 12 months, and after 1 single session, no back pain. And he still has no back pain now.
Wow.
But to be fair, we call this a book cure. I've had a few people that have had book cures, but for more, we need to deactivate that signal and figure out what's the...
If you've got any questions, I'm going to be talking to you off air about my knee problems in a minute. But if you wanted to get in touch now, 4001 or that app, or of course the phone line is open to 04871 5500. Message that came to you earlier saying post-COVID fibromyalgia, is it real? Can you break that down for us in terms of even with some of those defining terms?
Yes. So fibromyalgia, of course, all pain is real. I've been there. Pain is absolutely real. I'm not suggesting it's not. Fibromyalgia, in basic terms, is when we have pain. It keeps coming in all different places in our body. The doctors can't quite identify exactly what it is, and then it's kind of called fibromyalgia. Now, what this actually is, from a chronic pain point of view, it's a very nervous system that's firing signals, let's say, to the shoulder. And when we don't get to the root cause of what that is, it goes, right, you're not listening to me here. I'm going to give you pain in your knees. I'm going to give you migraines. I'm going to give you this, whatever. And that's why people with chronic pain tend to have lots of different symptoms all at the same time, or they have many symptoms throughout a lifetime. So they have migraines when they're younger, then they have knee pain, then they have something else. So the root cause of fibromyalgia and the treatment for it, from my perspective and my training, is the exact same thing I would do with someone with back pain.
Which is what? Would you mind kind of breaking down, I guess, demystifying a little bit about what might happen in a session?
Yeah, I mean, I have a process I take people through and tailor it depending on what their knowledge is as they come in. It's the 4 Ps, so pain, literally teaching people about chronic pain and why they have it. Most of the clients I get from the States are so well versed on this. They come to me on the back of podcasts. They've read more books on the subject. They're experts. No need to do that with them. The next part is personality, because there's certain personality types that are far more susceptible to chronic pain.
Such as what? Such as who?
Such as high empaths that take on everyone else's emotional baggage, high achievers, people who are really responsible and never miss a deadline. It's really analytical overthinkers. It's people whose personality is putting pressure on themselves, which then is allowing the brain to think there is a physical threat, but there's not. It's that the threat is their own personality.
Wow. Okay. So number 3, the third P, Gemma.
The third P is past. If we have trauma in our childhood, there is a huge correlation between people who have childhood trauma and have pain as an adult.
The idea of the body keeps the score.
Yes, exactly the same theory. But the reason why, if as a child, let's say you move house every so many years, or you were at many different schools, every time this happens, your nervous system kicks in to protect you. And so your nervous system's going on, off, and then one day it's exhausted, and then it's now in high alert and it's looking for danger. So as you become an adult, your body's literally locked in this high alert situation and getting physical pain.
So that, and then the final P, Gemma?
The final P is practical tools. I teach people somatic tracking. I do somatic tracking with people who...
What's somatic tracking?
Sorry, I live and breathe this stuff. Somatic tracking is where I will help someone to focus on their body. So let's say I had a client once who, she couldn't stand up. She was, I think she was about 55, and her fear was that she wouldn't be able to carry her grandchild, and it hadn't even been born yet. And she couldn't stand up from a chair without pressing her hands into the chair to stand up. So how can she carry the baby? So in a closed eye exercise, I got her to imagine sitting in the chair and doing it. And she couldn't do it. Then I took her to kind of a happy place in her body, got her to think about when she used to be a dancer and all of this. Her body relaxed, and then she could easily stand up. And it's training the brain there is no physical danger.
I want to ask you if there is a physical problem, how this can help in just a few minutes. We've had messages going, tell me more about her training, asking for your details, talking about chronic migraines for 20 years. Could this help? If you want details, you're more than welcome to send me the word pain. Actually, do you know what? Don't send me the word. Send me the words no pain. Let's manifest this. Joining us in studio, we've got chronic pain coach Gemma McFall, but you're more than welcome to get in touch and just ask for her details on 4001. We're going to go to the text line. We're also going to speak to one of her clients, Marisa, next, who had a lesion to her cartilage that really was becoming life-limiting. That's coming your way after the headlines. Joining us live in studio is chronic pain coach Gemma McFall. After her own chronic problems with her back, started looking at a different way, brain training, if you will. And we're speaking now to Marisa. Marisa, you've come through the other side of some of this work and bouncing into the studio today. Would you mind taking us back in time a little bit and tell us how bad the pain got and how you ultimately discovered Gemma?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I've always been really, I would class as quite fit and healthy. I have held really stressful jobs. So I was managing director in a big bank here. But I've never really felt, I didn't feel particularly stressed. And then, I had a baby, had postnatal depression with that, had pneumonia, just like the everything all together.
I'd say the perfect storm, but the imperfect storm.
Yeah, exactly. But I genuinely thought I was kind of out the weeds with that. And I was leaving the gym one day and all of a sudden didn't even trip. I just felt like a real strong pain in the top of my foot. And I left it, a couple of months, like you do with all these things. You just think...
Especially when you're a parent, you're like, well, it'll sort itself out. Haven't really got time to be addressing this right now.
Yeah.
If there's a baby problem, you're like straight to the paediatrician, no questions asked. So how long did it go on before you realised it actually wasn't getting any better?
It was a few months. And then I decided to go to the hospital and, being here, I was straight in for an MRI, something that I'd probably have waited a long time for back at home. So I had the MRI and when they talked me through the results, I was quite shocked, honestly. I thought that, it would be a really long recovery process and I had to have an operation. Basically, they found and they pointed out in the MRI that I had a lesion to the cartilage. And if I didn't have an operation, then I wouldn't be able to walk properly. And that would be it. All the things that I love doing would be off the table. So I was literally booked in for surgery. And the timing was a bit inconvenient. And so my business partner said to me, he was like, look, I met this amazing lady. I had one session with her and it changed my life. I had back pain for 12 months. So,
and you're going, tell me more and tell me yesterday and let's get this. Okay. So, we said earlier that one session is probably on the more kind of unicorn side, but absolutely worth a shot before you go under the knife. My gosh. So tell us a little bit about your experience of having this therapy with Gemma. How did it go? What were your preconceptions and how did it unfold?
Yeah, so I think because of, like I said, with my work background and stuff, I've always been a bit like, I'll just get on and deal with it. This sort of stuff doesn't affect me. And so when I was a bit apprehensive about meeting Gemma and I wasn't sure that it would work for me. But even within kind of, we had our initial chat and it took really 3 to 4 sessions before it started becoming more sustainable. But within, the first session, I felt better already because we'd addressed that pain piece that I was scared of because I remember saying to you, Gemma, in the first go, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to jump, or I'm not going to be able to run again, and I'm okay with that. And you were like,
stop talking like that.
Yeah. How could you be okay with that? Like, where's this mind shift come from? And so, yeah, then we started working through it, and you just really helped to retrain my brain over a number of sessions.
Can I ask, we've had a question that made me think as well. Is this a form of hypnotherapy, or is it completely different?
No, it's not hypnotherapy. I mean, the first few sessions is education. It's as simple as that. It's education. The second part is around the personality, and that's, I would describe that similar to executive coaching. Some of the trauma for past, I do techniques that will take people back into the past. But it's not hypnotherapy. The person can come back anytime they want, but only to help go to that emotion, process it, and come back. I won't hold somebody in the past for weeks and weeks and weeks.
So as we said, this is pain reprocessing therapy. Gemma, I just want to come back to a message we had earlier, because we've had a similar message from Rob saying, what about chronic pain and long COVID? Would you mind explaining a little bit about the COVID piece and how that's contributed to a lot of people's pain or perception of pain?
Yeah, so during, I'd already got rid of my back pain, and then COVID happened and my right eye started twitching like crazy.
Like the throbbly eye we get when we were tired?
Yeah,
or
but
worse?
Like all day, every day. No one else could see it, but my eye was twitching. It was bizarre. But because I know what I know about this work, I thought, you know what, this is my eye twitching because I'm perceiving a physical threat, and there's no physical threat. And I thought, if my eye's twitching, then physical symptoms are happening to people all around the world right now. And I think what happened with COVID, like Marisa was saying, we keep going. And it's easier to feel physical pain rather than emotional pain. So just like Marisa, I would never have described myself as stressed. Definitely would never have used the word anxiety, yet I had back pain. Why? Because it's easier to have back pain than to address anything else.
But can I ask then, there must be some people that have pain for very real physical reasons. So would you mind, what I'm trying to kind of ascertain is that this can be hugely helpful in a lot of situations, but not necessarily a magic bullet for people who might have, had a terrible break or dislocation or, whatever that might be. How do you ascertain who's a good candidate for this?
Yeah, so a dislocation of a shoulder,
ouch,
could be, you address that with a medical professional. If that shoulder's still hurting after 3 months, that's chronic pain, and that's where I can help. Okay. The way I assess people if I can help, we're looking for evidence. So personality types, as we mentioned, possible things from the past, doesn't even need to be big trauma, and general beliefs around pain. It's sometimes useful to look back at people's parents and see, what did your parents have when they were younger? Did they have a lot of chronic pain as well? Or were they like, oh, your body will fix itself, which is the truth. Your body tends to fix itself.
So how are you, Marisa, now? Having been through this, and you said it was kind of 3-4 sessions of re-education around the concept of pain. You're talking about personality and past, and I guess how that kind of showed up for you. Was it like a weird alleviation of the pain? Was it sudden? How did it feel or not feel?
It was, so I'd say within the first couple of sessions, I noticed a difference because I was able to, when the pain kicked in, I was like, I'm going to think about something else now. Like, I know it hurts, but I don't need to waddle down the stairs.
Yeah, I'm not going to indulge this.
Yeah, exactly. So I started to do that fairly quickly. And then after kind of, so it was about over sort of 4-month period, that just started to go away because I kept redirecting my brain. And I remember I was going for a run and I'd done maybe just like a kilometre, not too far, but I was like, this doesn't hurt anymore, and at the gym last night, for the first time I thought about you, Gemma, because I don't know what they're called, but they were like squat, box, jump things. And I just thought for me, that would never have happened.
Wow. It must be very rewarding for you, Gemma, to hear about how people, have overcome injury or avoided surgery. But, for some people, chronic pain can completely dominate in the worst possible way. How do you feel like your life has changed since you've started working with people on this?
I'm almost in tears listening to her. Everyone says, what's your why? Why do you do what you do? For me, I realised my why is not about the person I'm working with. My why is Marisa's kids, it's the family, it's the people that live with the people with chronic pain. I really, it's making me emotional. I just think about where I was and the pain I was in and how grateful I was that somebody took the time to say, you know what, you don't need surgery. The issue is the pain signals in the brain, not the spine, you know.
You work with people on, one-to-one, but you also go in and work with companies as well. We've only got a minute left, but I think in terms of how workplaces can be more tuned into this, what do you wish that, HR, hiring managers, people who are in a position to make some changes in the workplace need to know about pain and how it can affect their employees?
Yeah, give me a call. I think I do workshops to staff, but also I think right now there's a lot of companies paying for executive coaching. The last client I had, his company paid for him to have 6 sessions with me, and now, he was like one of the top guys. Now he's got no pain.
We've had a number of questions of people saying, can this help with this? Can this help with that? One was a migraine there, chronic migraine for over 20 years. I think you said off air that that's something you can help with. So if anyone wants the details, again, with your permission, if you send me the words "no pain" to 4001, I will send you the website. And we've also had a couple of people asking about the book recommendation that you had earlier. So lastly, Gemma, if anyone wants to do their own reading on this as well and start doing their own work, what's the name of that book, if you don't mind?
Yeah, the book, it's The Way Out by Alan Gordon. I recommend it to clients, and it's who I trained with, but there are many books. I'm happy to send resources out to anyone.
Amazing. Guys, Marisa, it's great to have you in great health, bounding into the studio. I will not be joining you on the horrendous box jumps, but I'm pleased for you. And Gemma McFall, thank you so much. I think it's a topic that is really in need of re-education, and it sounds like you're doing some great work around that. As I said, if you want details of Gemma, send me the words "no pain" to 4001. Be very happy to connect you off air, and wishing you all a very happy and healthy few days ahead. Now, we have got Harry Styles now on Dubai Eye 103.8. I frankly couldn't be happier. It is coming up it's 2:45. We've got the traffic coming your way as well. As I said, we are here for you on 4001 right now.